Good day to you. I'm Professor Sharda Srinivasan from Bangalore, and it's a great privilege for me to be here on this event of the Indian Museum, Calcutta, which is one of the oldest and most important of national museums in India. And today I'm going to screen a video of the making of a metal mirror in Kerala, which is a very exotic tradition. And of course, in these days of the lockdown, one should mention that Kerala is also the region which has produced so many nurses and healthcare professionals who are working not just in India but across the world. But today we will go to this verdant little state and look at this very exotic mirror making tradition. And it's relevant also in the light of the Indian Museum, which has some great collections, and it has a beautiful sculpture of the Darpanika, the lady who admires herself in the mirror, which is one of the very prominent sculptures that you will see there. So mirrors have been used in antiquity in India for personal adornment and so on. And in Kerala itself, it was a part of the wedding trousseau of the Nair women, one of the Ashtamangalyam. So we'll go over now and look at this exotic tradition of mirror making, which uses a very unusual alloy of heightened bronze, and take you through the steps in this little village of Aranmula, which is of course much better known for the great snake boat race which takes place at the time of Onam along the river Pampa. And in fact, just a couple of years ago also, it faced a lot of devastation in the floods, but bounced back rather well. And although some of these crafts have had their shares of struggles and so on, they still carry on despite all the vicissitudes. And so this is a tribute to our legacy of our rich traditions. We are here in Aranmula, which is in Kerala, a little village where traditional metal mirrors have been made for at least the past 200 years as far as we know. And these are made of a higher tin content bronze with about 33% tin, which I studied and analyzed. This is what I call a delta bronze alloy. It has 33% tin in bronze, and this I found out by microstructural and SEM analysis. And this alloy is chosen because, as you can see, it's a very silvery white color, and although it's a very brittle metal, they cast it in a very special way so that a very thin blank is cast of a homogeneous alloy so that it won't break more easily. As you can see, actually it is very brittle. I can just break it with a hammer, or if I just do, see, it breaks. It's a very brittle alloy. These are two disc molds, and then they apply, these disc molds are rough clay disc molds. Then they apply a very fine clay layer made of ground pottery on it so that it gives a finer finish. And then finally he applies a layer of charcoal so that you get the finest surface possible against which the mirror blank is cast. Then these two disc molds will be placed together, and tiny pieces of spacers are kept to maintain the hollow between the disc molds. And then it is encased in clay so that it forms an encasement like this with clay. And then this encased clay mold is, then they make a little channel, a wax channel, and then this is the mouth here. This forms both a crucible and a mold. The top part is the crucible cup, and this is the mold. So then they will put the metal to be cast here with a channel connecting it and cover it, and then they will heat it in the reverse process so that the metal gets molten. They will tip it over so that it forms the blank. This is the first layer of ground pottery which is applied as a slip onto this disc mold for making the mirror, which is just done by a simple polishing process on this stone anvil. First he had used pottery over there, the final layer of pottery was there, and that is finished with pottery, and now this is charcoal. So you see it's a very fine slip which is applied on the surface of the mold. He puts these small metal spacers at the three corners, and then he covers it with the other mold that will define the thickness of the blank. Then he will cover it with this clay which is taken from the paddy field. This fine grade of clay was made by crushing pottery. And these mirrors were used as the Ashtamangalyam set in the Kerala Nair families especially, where the brides would receive a metal mirror as part of the wedding trousseau. So you see here it's all, the entire process is in the hands of the skills of the craftsman. It's a handmade technique. Then he makes the hole in the cup, and then he very skillfully widens it out so that the mouth of the crucible cup is formed. And here our cup is widening out. And here you see how he's putting this pottery. Now he's showing us how he's putting this layer of pottery on it. So this mix from fine ground pottery he is applying. As you saw, these two processes, the disc mold being made here with a slip, and then putting the molds here inside, and he's also making a hole here for the gases to escape inside that, because that hole is very crucial for the gases to escape, because otherwise the trapped gases will spoil the casting. It will form bubbles. You don't need me to explain this again.
No, I'm just taking for safety.
言ってましたけど、もう僕の思うにそれはないやろ。
This is the 33% tin bronze alloy, delta bronze alloy. It is to be cast in that thin blank, as I mentioned, which will be polished and easily breakable. So he fills the mouth of this crucible cum mold, and then he seals it with cloth. First paper and then cloth, huh? Paper and then cloth. So this is the cup of the crucible in which the metal to be cast is placed. It has now been covered with newspaper and with cloth, and then it's being sealed with clay. And here is the two disc molds. And so once this melts, it's heated face down, it's tipped over, and the metal flows in here, and the blank is cast. So this he's filled that with metal to be cast, and then he's sealing it with clay. You can again see that process there. On this piece of linen, they've put some of the clay, and he explains that this will then be put to seal the mouth. So this process ensures that the gases will not escape. On the whole close something that. he has slowly tipped it over, breaking up.
おお、まだ溶けてますな。なんてことでしょう。なんか固まってる。
Gopakumar is going to show us how the mold is broken and the blank for making the mirror is retrieved. Now what is happening is Mr. Gopan is going to fix this mirror. And now we're going to see how we get this final mirror effect and polish. He's going to polish this on this jute cloth which has got some adhesives and when it's got some polishing materials. Jute cloth and oil, he says that's all it is that he's using for polishing, and he puts the oil on the wooden polishing board and then on the jute cloth he presses it. Actually what you're watching is a modern sort of process of polishing where they're using sandpaper and polishing, but actually in the olden days they would not have used these polishing cloths. They were using the jute cloth in Hessian, but this is a modern innovation where they started to use sandpaper. He's going to weld the back piece, this brass plate, and the back of this will form the Kannadi mirror. There are some of these iron bands which are put to hold it in place, the brass plate. He has put some borax powder. Now he's going to do like a welding job. This is how the mirror is fitted into the final frame. This is what the finished. Now they are drying out. We can't touch this because it's hot. Basically, this is the handle for the mirror. It was heated here. This mix of there was a layer of resin mixed with soil which was put at the back, and then the blank was put on top of it, and it was heated so that it will set, and now it's being left to cool.
And polish it with cotton, smooth cloths in this direction, up and down.
Finally, this is what the Aranmula Kannadi looks like in its finished state. Here it's been put into a large brass handle and you see a perfect point image due to this polishing of the specular bronze alloy, and you see this splendid reflection of the greenery of the trees and the leaves inside this mirror. Small wonder then that it's almost called something like a magic mirror. And I think it's wonderful that a fairly high-tech product has been made using a very low-tech methods, almost organic and recyclable materials, the organic materials of dung, pottery, everyday materials, burnt refractory materials, nothing very sophisticated, and everything is recycled, so it's a very eco-friendly technology in a way. We hope that this craft survives the vicissitudes of change